Good morning, Sunfish. I am the multifarious fisherman. We are out on public water today, right after the 4th of July weekend. I just got my Helix mounted on my kayak and we're out here to show you how to do a little mapping. I have a feeling that these lakes got the heck beat out of them this weekend, but doesn't hurt to try. So a lot of these small lakes that we fish that are public and or private are not mapped, and we open water fish them and we ice fish them, and it'd be nice to have some indication of where the creek channel is, where the deeper water is, for open water and for ice. So we get out here and we make our own maps. We are reading depth, and if I paddle around, we should be making a map. Okay, so when you want a chart, we go menu, go down to auto chart, go to the right, record, turn on when you want a chart. You want it to be visible. Transparency right now is 0 because I don't have anything underneath it I want to show through, and I don't need more than 100 foot. Probably don't need more than 30. Probably don't need 30. Might not need much more than 20. Color palette, I'm going to stick with the setup. Want my contour lines visible. Contour intervals. Let's do 1 footers. So I'm in 9 foot of water. I'm just going to move over closer to the bank. It's making presumptions about the depth in the places that I haven't mapped. There's a fish. It laid the 7 foot contour. Should lay a 6 foot contour here. There's fish. Laid a 5 foot contour. 4, there's a bunch of weeds. 3, give me a 2 footer. I'm about to hit bottom. Got in a little close and have a bunch of garbage on my transducer. Back out into 5 foot of water. But you can see how it's presuming certain things about the map in the areas I haven't been yet. And it's presuming I'm out a decent distance, but then it just falls back to blue. So if I paddle back over here, I have a red line, that's my track. That's showing me where I've been, but it wasn't mapping at that point. You can see how the line's kicking back out as I get in closer. So the accuracy of this will be based pretty much on how much I run around and how close I get to the bank, and I'm not too worried about right up at the bank. You can kind of see it, you can tell. If you have the accurate depth out away from it, you can kind of see what's what here. I had a little bit of a point that stuck out there. Some good weeds in here. I'm very shallow. I'm just kind of making a pass right on the edge of these weeds, trying not to pick up too many of them on my transducer, but giving myself a baseline for depth. There's some timber up here that I'm going to need to avoid so I don't snap anything off. That red thing in the screen is a log. Kind of establishing a baseline for my shallow water here. So the concept is it makes presumptions where it doesn't have information. So we're giving it some around the shoreline information here. So there's a pass through here, and rather than continue around the entire lake, I'm going to kind of stick to this basin. So we're going to run across this narrow section in this extremely shallow water. So we're in a kayak, we're not going to have a lot of speed, but we can map at about any speed we want, but the GPS and the transducer only ping at a certain rate. So the more water you're covering, the less actual points of information you're getting in your map, which if you're doing, 10 footers or something, that's probably not a big deal. But if you want a nice accurate 1 foot contour, too much speed probably works against you a little bit. Incidentally, if you're utilizing these maps for your your contour follow on your iPilot Link system, you're going to want a 1-foot contour map because those are the ones that will allow you to do contour follow. One thing that you'll notice if you do this over a period of time is as lakes move up and down, the numbers may change. So if I map this now and I come back in 2 months and try to do more mapping, if the lake's down 2 feet, my 1-foot contour map all of a sudden going to be real confusing because the same areas are going to overwrite with different depths and your 2 maps won't mesh very nicely together. So you want to kind of be conscious of that. There are ways to do data offsets, transducer offsets, to try to get your information to tidy up. Most people aren't worried about being that fussy about their accuracy. Now we're back around to where we started mapping, and if you look at our lake, we have shoreline detail. Now I'm going to take a more or less straight pass further out to get some deeper depth data, because a lot of what we're looking at is presumptive information. Now see how all of a sudden a bunch of deeper water is filling in? Big flat bottom here, so it's getting rid of all of that presumptive shallow water. Now we're going 3.5 miles an hour, still mapping successfully. But we are showing a real deep drop off there that isn't likely accurate. That's something that we are drawing because we don't have any other data. So I'm going to move over a little. I'm going to take another pass. You can see how the numbers change as I get out here and crisscross the lake a few times. There's a fish. So we like to call these fish locators, and they certainly do that job, but they do more than that. They can help me save spots that I've fished before and like and want to go back to. They can also be an aid in where do I want to try to fish, and the map is a big help to that. Pretty good break there from 10 to 13. Oh, a little hump maybe. Got back down to 12. That's interesting. So I noticed that, and I didn't like how that locator tried to draw that. So I'm actually going to go back to it. There's some fish. And I'm going to go much slower because it actually started to draw it and then kind of took it away. Where was that hump? Out here. There we go. So apparently there isn't enough there to let the map draw that. That's disappointing because a small piece like that on a body of water like this with nothing can be significant. First waypoint in the unit. I didn't do a perfect job here today, but if you're systematic about crisscrossing the lake in at least a couple of different angles, somewhere approaching a 90-degree angle, you'll get good coverage, and the closer together you make them, the more accurate your map will become. I may go back and hit this again, but we had a finite amount of time, and we did get coverage on the lake. You'll notice that I concentrated more specifically on a couple of areas because either the way the angle's laid, I didn't get good coverage, or something was going on, so I wanted to make sure that I got a good representation in that area. If you find something specific, like that little hump or something else, and you want better mapping in that area, the more you concentrate on it, the more accurate that map will become. Well, she's pretty crisscrossed. You can see it's a relatively featureless basin, but it does give you an idea what you can do to map a body of water. A lot of the lakes where I'm at are like this. They're dug sand pits, and there isn't a lot to them except for around the shoreline. But some of them have submerged islands and things. This one doesn't. We've fished it quite a bit, and I kind of knew it didn't, but I knew it would be a manageable body of water to try to do the paddling in a morning before it got 1,000 degrees. Well, as you can see, my sonar unit worked all morning. My transducer didn't get torn off by anything. and my ammo box is still holding the battery. Even though there's water in my kayak, there shouldn't be any water on my battery. I have been the multifarious fisherman. This has been 7 Fish, and hopefully you've enjoyed us showing you how to make a Humminbird Helix 5 portable and put it on your boat. Kayaks have gotten tremendously popular. Hopefully this is helpful to some of you. I've had fun making that work. Hopefully you've had fun watching us make that work. We put out a video on Friday and a video on Tuesday. We got a lot of videos out there. Some of them involve running locators on kayaks.